having been somebody that was in a scary place financially just over a decade ago, I want you to explain what will happen to somebody with crushing student debt or who's having trouble just making the ends meet right now and they don't have a lot of savings. How will doing this exercise change their psychology about money starting today?
Yes, thank you for asking this, because if you are in large amounts of debt, whether student loan, credit card, even mortgage for some people, some of this can sound really airy-fairy. And I'm the last guy to get accused of us all sitting around the campfire saying kumbaya. I'm like, look, I'll talk about psychology, but we're also going to talk about the numbers. And so what I want to emphasize to people is that we often have this belief that we're overwhelmed with money. Okay, it's easy to feel that way. But when I ask people, show me your spending, what percentage of your income is going to housing or investments? I would say 99% of people do not know. Okay, so how can we...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I literally don't know.
Yeah, totally. It's very common. And so how can we feel in control of something if we don't understand the basic mechanics of it? Even when we drive a car, we got to know how to turn the ignition on, or, reverse. So we go through life in this very arbitrary, transactional way of like, okay, this bill came in, I'm going to pay it. This bill came in, that feels really bad. It's transactional, it's reactive. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to go from defense to offense with your money. That means once you set the intention of an Italy trip, if you're in crushing debt, you may go, hey, Ramit, I actually cannot afford to put $100 a month away. I go, okay, well, why don't we write that down, $100 a month towards Italy, but you can't do that today. That's totally fine. Next, we're going to go through your 4 key numbers in the conscious spending plan. Let's make sure you understand your numbers, and you will be quite surprised that a lot of people discover they have more money than they actually realized once they go on offense with their personal finances.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what are the 4 things that we all need to go through?
Everybody needs these 4 numbers. This is what I use instead of a budget. I don't keep a budget. You think I'm going to sit around tracking the price of asparagus for the rest of my life? Hell no. Okay, I don't want to live that kind of life.
I don't want to live that kind of life either. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so 4 numbers that you should know. These are all part of my conscious spending plan. The first is your fixed costs.
Okay.
So that would include your rent or mortgage, your utilities, car payment, gas, insurance, anything that's fixed, even groceries, every month, that goes there.
And what about the minimum debt payment, or is that part of another category?
Yeah, that counts there exactly. Thank you. And that number, you should try to get it between 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Okay? Let me run through these all, and then I'll tell you what they mean. 50 to 60% of your take-home pay for fixed costs. Next up, your savings. How much money are you saving every month? This should be roughly 5 to 10% of your take-home. And savings would be an emergency fund or money you don't need for at least 1 to 5 years. Things like a down payment for a house, etc. Next up would be investments. Roughly 5 to 10% of take home, although I like to see it higher because investing early in life pays dividends later.
Okay.
And then
little shame for Mel Robbins, did not invest early in life. I'm just going to let that one go and focus on my dream list. Okay. Just wanted to acknowledge that when you said that, because
look,
people say that and I'm like, fuck, I didn't do that. Okay.
Well, I wish I started deadlifting when I was 13 years old, but I didn't even know what that was, So we all start from the place we start at.
That's true.
Okay. The last category is my favorite one of all. It's guilt-free spending. This is 20 to 35% of take-home pay.
What?
Now, yeah, that's right. Desserts. Mel, go get them. Beautiful cashmere coat. That's for me. Go get them. You want to get roller skates. You want to go to your gym. 20 to 35% of take-home. Now, let me tell you why I love this and why I'm getting excited about 4 numbers. This. Okay. So many of us shrink our lives and we agonize over some stupid $5 purchase. You really think coffee is going to change your life? It's irrelevant. It does not matter how much coffee you buy. So please stop thinking about that. The same people who and I go, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know anything. I go, what's your savings rate? They go, what's that? How much are you investing? Well, I try, but I don't really know. Okay, how are you supposed to feel not overwhelmed if you don't know any key numbers? So know the 4 numbers and you will suddenly feel totally in control. Some of you aren't going to be able to hit these numbers. That's okay. At least we can work with it. We got the puzzle pieces on the table. Now we can start assembling your rich life.
Wow. Okay. I think I can do this.
Yeah.
So you just like carve out some time on the weekend and get your arms around these 4 things.
Yeah, which should take 15 minutes. Do not overthink it.
It's going to take me a while. Really? It takes 15 minutes?
Yeah, but here's what people do.
How do you do it?
Because the biggest challenge is people don't have the right logins. So their logins are spread all. They got their Fidelity account or some old 401k or whatever. So I would recommend breaking it up into 2 days.
Okay.
The first day is just get all your stuff assembled.
Love it.
Right? It's like cleaning the garage. And then the second day, 15 minutes and done. Do not overthink it.
Okay.
We're going for approximate numbers.
Okay.
That's it.
I love you. I love you, love you, love you. You have that, what is it, the 85% rule? Get 85% of this right, you're good.
Get on with your life. You don't need to sit there and optimize everything. It's a waste of time.
And I also love this because like it can feel so insurmountable when you've made major financial mistakes in your life.
Yeah.
That this gives you a place to start that you can then start to get better from. And I just actually had a huge wake up moment. I realized that one of the great things about growing up with parents who were very I didn't ever see any concern about money and I didn't see them talking about it. Actually, that's not true. I would see my mother sitting at her desk with one of those little calculators with the tapes as she was balancing her checkbook.
Hey, that's a really important thing that you saw. You saw a woman taking control of money.
Yes.
And obviously, and being capable and competent. That is a very valuable lesson to learn as a child. That obviously has come through for you. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, and she then went on to open her own retail store. And all the women, like my grandmother's a farmer and ran the money, and she had a calculator with the tape.
Amazing.
And my other grandmother, my grandparents had a bakery, and she had the thing with the tape. But what's interesting is that I think it's chill aspect has gotten too hands off for me. The fact that I can't answer those numbers like that at this stage in my life, for me, it used to be because of fear and shame and how bad the numbers were. I used to be one of those people that the bills would arrive and I would just not open them.
Yeah, common.
And because it was confronting to see the debt and confronting to see how much I had spent because I was, basically shopping to escape my life with money that I did not afford or that I didn't have. And then you'd open up the bills and be like, fuck.
Yeah, I guess I spent that much.
Yeah, I don't have that money. And so it used to be that, but I think now that I've paid off all the debt and I have savings and I've, maniacally saving, I don't look at it at all still.
Okay. Let's talk about a couple things that are so interesting about what you just said. I love the honesty. All of us have something in our lives that we feel like we should be doing better. And we kind of push the envelopes away. And I deeply understand this because for me, it was fitness. And I grew up half joking, calling myself a skinny Indian guy. And I really wish I had not said that because it became part of my identity. And, if any of us say something like, I'm bad with money, I would gently encourage you to not say that. Maybe reframe it and say, gosh, I haven't learned the skills of money yet, but I'm changing that now.
I want to stop right there. Hold on a second. I apologize for interrupting you, but this is so important. Yeah. If you just heard Ramit say, I'm bad with money, I want you to pay attention loud and clear because he's absolutely right. Or if you say something like, I don't understand, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm not good with math.
I'm not good with math. What are other things that your students say, Ramit, that really crystallize a terrible psychology around money?
My family's never been good with money. We're all bad. I'm never going to get out of this debt. We always fight about money. And I'm just an overspender.
Or my husband took care of the finances.
Oh, classic. Oh, that drives me insane. Hold on, I'm getting mad, but I'm getting mad at multiple things right now. So let me take them each in turn. Okay, first off, what you said about not opening envelopes, and then now as you've become much more financially successful, it's almost swung the other way, is totally common. In my experience, once people start earning around $150,000, they stop really paying attention to the numbers because they basically make enough to not have to really pay attention. And actually, I'm a little okay with that. I don't want people agonizing over the price of groceries if they're making 150K. But what I do want, and what I do for myself, is I spend 1 hour per month on my finances. That's it. Just 1 hour. I review the CSP. My wife and I talk about money.
Hold on. The CSP was that conscious spending plan of the four things: fixed cost, what's your automatic savings, your investments, and then the category I love the most: guilt-free fucking spending. People, let's go.
Wow, okay. I love it. You added the F word. That's so good. I got to add that. That's beautiful. It is exciting. Okay, so all those things. When you have money carved out for guilt-free spending, it is literally defined so that if you want to eat and get an extra cheesecake, or you want to go to the movies, like, you don't have to feel guilty because you know my debt is being paid off, my rent or mortgage is being covered. I'm even saving money. I'm not trying to save money, just like I don't try to brush my teeth. It is happening automatically. It's even better than brushing. So that is, if you're listening, I hope that's a sense of relief that you don't have to feel bad about having debt. You do not have to track a gajillion numbers that you don't even care about. You do, and I would highly encourage you to focus on 4 key numbers that will totally transform your life.
I love this. I love how easy you're making this. Thank you for that.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I don't want to spend time doing that either. I don't want anyone else to waste their time on it.
So may I just, I want to clarify one thing. So these 4 pillars of the conscious spending plan, and again, I come from the lived experience of crushing debt.
Yeah.
Where you feel that unless you can get to zero balance, you don't deserve guilt-free spending.
Yeah.
That somehow you're cheating on your goal to get out of debt, which is what every financial advisor pounds into your head.
Yeah.
And you feel like that latte robs you of the opportunity to be out of debt. You feel like spending to go on a trip with your friends robs you of the ability to be out of debt. And what you're saying is, no. You can start right now by figuring out these 4 things and allocating incoming to those things.
Correct. We have a very unhealthy relationship with money in this country. On one hand, we have a puritanical strain that tells us, do not buy anything, and you're a bad person for having debt, and you should live in a monastery until that debt is paid off, and then maybe you can go buy a pack of gum, okay? On the other hand, we're like, okay, hold on, let me look at Instagram. Oh, my friend's in Bora Bora on Tuesday. Ooh, I think I'm going to go take a trip, even though I don't even know how much I have in the bank. What a 2 paradoxical beliefs, and usually it's the consumerist one that wins, but we still feel guilty.
Yes.
We love to feel guilty in this country. I don't really know I don't want to feel guilty with money. I'm not naturally like, I don't feel guilty. I'm just like, let me just fix this. So when it comes to having debt, here's my belief. Number 1, you need to know how much you owe. 90% of people I talk to who are in debt do not even know how much debt they owe. That's number 1. You got to know your numbers. Number 2, you've got to know the exact month and year your debt will be paid off. 95% of people in debt do not know their debt payoff plan. Easy way to do it, literally go on Google, type debt payoff calculator, plug your numbers in, and you will see. And don't worry if it seems depressing. Oh, it's going to take 28 years. What I want you to do is just plug the number in and sit with it for a day. And later, you will learn things like wow, if I add an extra $50 a month, it can shave off 3 years from my debt. But that comes later. I just want you to
you know what else I also
acknowledge
love
it.
that you're saying is I love that you're saying it's okay to have it. Like most rich people actually finance a lot of things. And and that
debt.
Go ahead. You're the expert. I don't know why the hell I'm talking about money. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, whether it's okay or not, a lot of people have debt.
Yes.
So let's just accept us for who we are. That's the fact of life. Now, I do want you to get smarter with debt. So when I look at people, I always look at a snapshot of their finances. And I talk about all these numbers on the podcast, by the way. We have folks who come on $800,000 of debt. They're not even sure. Really? Are you serious?
Well, that was me over a decade ago. Yeah, when the liens hit the house.
Okay.
No college savings, no 401k, credit cards maxed out, home equity line maxed out, plowed it all into my husband's restaurant business. Did not go according to plan. I lost my job. Liens hit the house. He hadn't been paid in 6 months. Friends and family had invested. Holy fucking hell. That was my life.
Okay. So you really know what it's like.
Yeah, this is not a joke. It's
like you think about it every day of your life when you're in it.
Yes. And in fact, there's research, I believe, that says that the number is $75,000 or $78,000 in the United States is what you need to make in order to be relieved of the day-to-day financial stress that you have. That when you reach that number, there's a level of freedom involved. I don't know if that's true or not.
I know the research.
What is it?
It's not people have wildly misinterpreted it. Let me put it this way, and I want to correct it because people listening who are making $75,000, they're like, wait a second, why do I still feel so stressed? What's wrong with me?
Right.
And there's not something wrong with you. Nobody is broken with money. Nobody. There are ways for you to get informed about money, so you know the basic language of money, which anybody can do. You do not have to be a math genius. I'm not. And second, to work on improving your money psychology. You know, I spoke to a couple on my podcast, and they were in a lot of financial trouble, and they think about it every day, and they were so stressed out. And I asked them, have you read my book? Not judging. It turns out like almost nobody who comes on my podcast reads my book, which I find hilarious. And so I said, okay. And they go, well, I haven't really read a lot. I said, okay, you're a new parent. She was a mom. I think her baby was about like 6 months old. I said, when you first had your baby, did you know how to hold her? She goes, no. Did you know how to feed her? No. Did you just wing it? Did you just tried your best, No. I got help. The nurses, my mom. I read a bunch of books, and on and on and on. And that is so normal. There are things in life we don't know. That's okay. But we do have to say, hey, this is important to me. My rich life is important. I deserve to dream bigger than a box of pickles. And therefore, I'm going to prioritize learning and also improving my psychology.
I'm going to read your book. I've never read a financial book in my life.
Oh, okay. I love it. There's an audio version too.
I'm just admitting it. I have never
I love your honesty. It's
read
so good.
a financial book in my entire life. I have read plenty of blogs and listened to podcasts. I've never read a book. And the truth is, I am intimidated by investing. And the irony of this is that this is the one area of my life where I have goals and I want to get more into investing. And also investing in startups as an angel investor. And I don't know the first fucking thing about it. And there is this, I don't know, like self-doubt or whatever that's I realize in talking to you is keeping me from starting. And yet one of the things that if I make that 10-year list that you're talking about of dreams, it is to have advised, invested in, and nurtured a number of startup companies, particularly by, underrepresented founders in spaces and categories that I deeply care about. And it's almost like what I just realized is doing that would help me fulfill in an amazing way, that ripple effect of sending desserts to people.
There you go. That is the money dial. The desserts are beautiful, but they are such a small example. You are so much bigger than a table full of desserts. That is it.
Yeah, it connected the dots between those two.
Yeah.
And so, you've given us so much to do and so much to think about. And I want to recap kind of what we've covered so far for everybody so that you can also, Ramit, tell us what else or where to start, or we're going to link to absolutely everything, all your resources, where people can listen to your podcast, where people can find your website. Of course, your new Netflix series where you are following a number of people that need their mindset about money changed in a show where you've got like 6 weeks to turn people's financial life around. And so, this is something where you can get coached by Ramit, not only through his programs, but through this new zero cost Netflix show. So make sure to tune into that. But I want us to just make sure that we have everybody leaving in action, because you've just poured so much into us. Number one, take 2 days, everybody. One for your logins, for your financial thing, the other to get the numbers straight. And don't overthink it. You got to get your conscious spending plan together, which Ramit taught us has 4 aspects of fixed costs, savings, investments, and your guilt-free fucking spending, people. The other one is you're going to do this 10-year dream plan where you get to just get your 10-year bucket list on. And this is so important because this is how you start to reclaim your life and take control of the psychology around money. You get to dream. You deserve to dream. You deserve to have a big, beautiful, rich life. And without this bucket list, you haven't identified that. You've also given us this exercise of money dials and thinking about what is the thing that if you dial it up, and it's the thing that you smile big about, and, could be eating out, could be experiences, health and wellness, convenience, things that make your life easier, make you feel more supported. You also guided us through a short kind of reflection of those moments in life that really impacted your core beliefs right now about money. And so you've given us a starting point. You've given us the research and the why. You've given us a roadmap for what to do to get started. What else, Ramit, when it comes to having this be day one of you having a different psychology and relationship to money and somebody truly taking control of their life, is there something else that we haven't talked about?
I would love for people to have an answer to this question. I spend extravagantly on blank, and I cut costs mercilessly on blank. And that really is the capstone of a lot of what we've talked about. You spend extravagantly on tipping or on clothes or on whatever it is. And to be able to write that down and be unapologetic about it, you're really standing in who you are. And that's okay. Not everybody has to agree with it. And it also means you have to be honest about what you are willing to cut costs mercilessly on. Maybe I'm actually overspending on my house. Maybe I didn't know about the 28% rule. And maybe I didn't know about 28-36 and all these different things that you can learn over time. But you have to be willing to also say, if I want to live my rich life, then what am I willing to say this is not part of my rich life?
What are some of the things that you typically see with the people that you work with that are costs that they I can't even pronounce that word.
They mercilessly cut?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what they overspend on.
Tell me.
Because it's always the same.
Okay.
The number one area that people overspend on is housing costs. And so in their fixed costs, that is the first, there's a reason it's first. Their housing costs, a good guideline is that your housing cost should roughly be 28% of your gross income. Now, I will tell you that that's really hard number, especially because housing has gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
especially if you live in New York, LA, etc. So if people come and they go, well, hey, mine's like 31%. I go, okay, we can approximate. It's like adding a little more salt to your dish. Fine. But sometimes they look at it and it's 42%. Now I'm going to tell you what that means, because again, most of us do not have the full picture of our finances. We simply pay the bill that comes in. And they're wondering, why do we keep fighting about Target? Why doesn't my husband or my wife want to go out to dinner once a year? I'm so annoyed. I go, well, I could tell you right now, it has nothing to do with Target, nothing to do with dinner out. It's that your housing cost is 42% of gross. And because you're spending all your money up there, there's nothing left trickling down the waterfall. You can't save, you can't invest, you can't go out. And when they realize that, then suddenly they have the knowledge and they can go, okay, do we actually love this house? Do we need to live here? Fine, then what are we going to cut back on? Or do we actually need to live here? Could we downsize? Could we move? Do we have options? Could we rent out ADU in the back if we've got it, et cetera, et cetera? That's number one. Number two, overspending is cars. You get somebody, I get this all the time, and I always get mad at them, and then everyone gets mad at me because in America we love trucks. So I have nothing against, well, that's not true. I have a lot of things against trucks, including safety and a variety of other things. But what I really have a problem with is somebody making $75,000 who buys an $80,000 truck because their buddy Chet at the dealer told them, oh, you can afford the monthly payment. And then they forget to factor in what I call TCO, total cost of ownership. That $80,000 truck actually cost you $120,000 once you factor in insurance, tax, gas, and on and on and on. They can't afford it. So I asked one guy, he comes on the show, they're struggling with money. He goes, they tell me, it comes out way late. They're like, oh, we tried everything. We buy generic macaroni and cheese. I go, I don't care about macaroni. Tell me about your car. They go, we have this big, nice truck. I go, oh, okay, that's so interesting. By the way, why do you have a truck? And he looks at me like I'm crazy. He goes, to pull the trailer. I go, what? You can't afford any of this. So anyway, those are the two areas people overspend on. It's house and car. And if you can just avoid that, if you can just get your numbers in line and fit your fixed costs, the rest of your life will be so much easier.
Wow.
You have a truck, Mel?
My husband drives a pickup truck, yeah.
What kind?
I think it's a Chevy.
Well, I don't really mind because I know you can afford it. But let's assume you and your husband made like 1/10 of what you made now, and you had that Chevy. What do you think about that?
I would be. It costs $125,000. That's a lot of money.
Well, this is another thing.
And gas, but I also live in Vermont, and I would not be able to get up my driveway that's a quarter mile long during mud season if we didn't have a pickup truck. We literally have to shuttle people up and down this driveway. I drive a 9-year-old car that just shit the bed. And now I drove it in to get repaired and was told it needs to be towed out somewhere to be sold. So I am currently without a car. So this is very timely, but I'm not a big car person.
Well, good. I like that you know that. See, now what I want to hear is that, and it could be car. I don't need a fancy house. I don't need fancy clothes. Fine. But I also want to know what you are into. And once people start to define those two things, that really helps create the dimensions of their rich life. Also, never buy anything expensive based on a monthly payment. That's a trick. People do this with their house, their car, and they forget all about the phantom costs that are not included in their monthly payment.
So if you've been guilty of that, do you then have to have an honest conversation with yourself? That's like I want you to leave us with this rich life concept. Yeah. Because while Ramit is a financial advisor, he's the host of a hit television show, he's a New York Times bestselling author, and he's helped millions of people change their thinking and mindset and psychology and relationship with money and launch businesses and get out of debt and create and build the rich life of their dreams. I really want to make sure people leave with a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
What do most people, without realizing, have if they don't have a rich life already? Like if you think about the people that came on the Netflix show or any of the millions of students that come to your website every month, what is the current mindset that most people have? And then I want you to leave us with a definition of what is possible if you apply these tools and you listen to Ramit.
The mindset that most of us have is what I would equate to being at work and getting one email after another and simply being an order taker. Okay, this person emailed me. Oh, I got to get back to that person. And that is life. And that is most people's lives forever when it comes to money. I got this bill. We got to get diapers. Uh-oh, the car broke down. Ooh, how are we going to respond to it?
Yeah.
It's just one arbitrary problem after another. And I don't wish for those problems to go away. Cars break down. Sometimes we go into debt. That's life. Instead, I want to give you a whole new way of looking at them, which is to say, agonizing over, some tiny thing at the grocery store is actually never going to go away, and it's never going to change your life. And you could spend the rest of your life worrying about it. And in my paradigm, that's a tragedy. What a tragedy to live a smaller life than you have to. What a tragedy to defer the rich life until some mythical day, which you don't even know when it's going to happen. And if I ask you, you apply an arbitrary number. No, we're not going to do that because you've listened to the two of us talking today. Instead, we're going to define it right now. What is our rich life? What are my money dials? What do I want to spend extravagantly on and therefore cut costs mercilessly on? And am I comfortable saying to myself and perhaps other people, I'm going to live my rich life today and an even richer life tomorrow? That's the vision I want to leave everybody with.
I freaking love that. Oh my God, you're amazing.
This is the, thank you. This is like, I love doing, I love seeing people's lives change when they see money in a different way.
Fantastic. Because when you see it in a different way, you act differently with it. And that's why this matters. Ramit's not saying, think about a rich life and all of a sudden there'll be $1 million in your bank account.
No,
that's not
it's
what
not
he's fucking
affirmations.
saying.
No, it's, you got to be competent. You got to know your numbers. Absolutely. I hold people to that. But when most people think about money, they see stress and overwhelm and debt. And when I look at numbers, I see a trip to Disneyland with your kids. I see an amazing food tour in India. I see the ability to never have to look at the price when you're at a restaurant. And that is what you can get when you understand how to use money.
I love this. One final question. For those people that have a mindset, I'm terrible with money, I'm bad with money, I'm never going to get out of debt. If you could drop in new programming, please tell them what they should start saying to themselves all day long about money instead.
The new phrase that I want you to use is, I haven't always been great with money, but now I'm learning. It's so simple. Such a simple reframe. Just nobody's expecting you to become a multi-millionaire overnight. We don't even need that. But day by day, you put a little bit of time and attention into reframing your identity. I haven't always been good, but I'm starting to learn about money now. That can be listening to this episode, listening to my podcast, watching the Netflix show. It can be putting some time during your commute to listen to the audiobook. And certainly having some conversations with a partner. Maybe saying, you know what? I realize that when we talk about money, we're always stressed out. And I don't want that for us. I actually want us to feel good about money. And I realize I've got some work to do. Absolutely. But I'd love to do it together with you. Would you be willing to do that together? That's how you reframe it. Solo and with a partner.
I love that. I love that. And I want to add one more because I'm thinking about my husband. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why I love your reframe, I haven't always been great with money, but now I'm learning. to be great with it. I love that because, as you know, those sort of mindset reframes only work if your brain accepts it as true. Yep. And by leading with the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you haven't always been great, it's not a make wrong, it's just stating a fact. It now opens the door for your brain to go, oh yeah, but now you're learning to be great. Okay, I got that. And so I could say for those of you that are on the spectrum of always been stressed, but you have it, I haven't always been, free with my money, but I'm now starting to enjoy it. I used to be stressed about my money, but now I'm learning how to enjoy it.
So good. I love that you add that positive emotion, because deep down, most of us don't need the fancy villa, but we do want to feel good day to day with our money.
Yes.
We want to know that if our kids ask us for something for school, we can get it. We want to know that if a friend comes into town and they say, hey, would you like to meet for lunch? Yeah, we can go. We don't even have to think about the numbers because we've already built in a margin of safety. We've built in some ability to take these spontaneous things that happen in life. That's a rich life, to not have to always be tight and restrictive, but to be fluid and accepting. And I love the way you put that. Enjoy money. That is so good.
Well, and here's the other thing that I love, if I had to put this all full circle, is that one of the things that we talk about all the time on this podcast, and you talk about it too, is the fact that we're all obsessed with getting to someplace. Like, I got to get that beach house. I got to get out of debt, because we presume that we're going to feel a certain way when we achieve it. And what you're offering is a very clear, simple, step-by-step roadmap that helps you change how you feel about money and how you think about money, so that as you're creating this rich life and as you're taking responsibility, you feel more freedom. You feel happier.
It starts today.
It starts today.
Yeah, exactly. And I never believe in living a life of, I'll start doing all these things when I retire. It's about the journey. And I want you to also get to where you want to go, but it's even sweeter when the journey has been intentional.
Amazing.
And that is what we really want to create, a rich life today and a richer life tomorrow.
Amazing. I want to be very clear about something. I am unbelievably talented when it comes to making money, but I am not a financial expert. In fact, I consider myself to be bad with money. And it may surprise you to hear that I feel that way about myself. And I'll admit to you, I have a lot to learn when it comes to being responsible with money, managing money. And if I dig even deeper, I have a lot of emotion about money. See, I shop when I'm stressed. And even though I can pay my bills at this moment in my life, I don't open my bills when they arrive. They literally sit there in a little stack. I don't know if you have a little stack like in the entryway of your house or on the counter in the kitchen, but I always have like a little stack. I don't know what it is. I kind of want to get to the bottom of it today. And this has been the way that I've been for as long as I can remember. In fact, I can give you some examples. If I go back to college, so I arrive at college and they have that sort of like opening registration forum thing, where there's these tables and clubs you can join. When I went to college, I'm 55 years old, no kidding, there were banks there and they were handing out credit cards, like literally handing out credit cards as if it was candy to trick-or-treaters. All you had to do, walk up to a table, fill out a form. You get a credit card. You get a credit card. I'm like, I'll take a credit card. It was like free money until I graduated with $10,000 in debt, and I had no idea what I'd spent it on. And that led to the next era in my life of financial irresponsibility, in which I would play this game that I called Credit Card Leapfrog, which basically involved Mel Robbins searching for a credit card with a 0% offer and then transferring my balance from my last credit card that I had maxed out to this new one. And I get it. I was an idiot. And the fact is, though, that what was really going on is I was intimidated by money. And I was also really embarrassed by the reality of my financial situation. And it felt like living in financial quicksand. And when I got into my 20s, my first job after law school was to be a public defender. And I could barely make the ends meet. I mean, I'm talking pay rent, pay for groceries. And so I started putting my living expenses on a credit card. I mean, it got so bad in terms of me being in debt and just constantly being irresponsible around it that when Chris and I got married 28 years ago, I came into that marriage with 5 or 6 credit cards that were completely maxed out. Now, did I tell him? No, I'm being serious. In fact, if I sit here and really think about it, I'm not sure he even knows this today because I kept it secret and I just kind of kept paying the minimum balance. And I'm telling you this because I think this is more common than most of us realize. And when you get into debt, or you are like I was, and you are constantly living beyond your means because you're like, okay, I feel terrible, so I don't want to sit and look at my bills, so I'm just going to go out and spend money that I don't have, and eventually I'll have money. And so it just creates this level of stress and shame, and it became for me a very toxic cycle that was hard to break out of. And, as my story progresses, a lot of you know that when I was in my 40s, my husband and his best friend followed a dream of going into the restaurant business. And like a lot of you who are small business owners, we put up our house as the collateral for that business because that's all the collateral that we had. And that's great when your business is successful. But the market took a turn. The business started to fail. We found ourselves 800 grand in debt. I'm 41 years old, 3 kids under the age of 10. And let me tell you something. If you think a credit card bill is scary, that is nothing compared to what it feels like to have liens start arriving in the mail saying they've hit your house and bankruptcy notifications. And so many of you that have heard that story, that was my life 15 years ago, want to know, Mel, oh my God, $800,000 in debt, almost going to lose your house. You were unemployed. How the hell did you get out of debt? And I've never really given the answer, because I just outworked it. Like that literally is the answer. That I realized nobody was coming. I realized that my husband was doing the best he can to try to keep the business afloat. He hadn't been paid in like 6 months. Like if I was going to figure this, I had to do something. And what that looked like is working like a freak. I mean, I had 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time. I just never stopped. And I started chipping away at the credit card bills and paying off the minimum balances and then making more chunks. And then when I paid them off, I cut them up. And when I finally got myself out of debt, not mortgage, I still have a mortgage, but like all of that debt that had racked up, the liens on the house, all that stuff, that was like 6 years ago. I had one rule. Any dollar that came in, 50 cents had to go into savings. Why? Because it was so terrifying to be under that kind of excruciating financial stress and shame. I never wanted to be in that position again. And I know there's a lot that I can learn, which is why I'm so excited to learn from Tiffany. But I'm also here because I look at my 3 kids, our adult kids, so 25, 23, and 18. And here's what scares me. I pass this stuff down to our daughters. I see them struggling with their relationship with money. It's not a powerful relationship. They are scared of it. They want more of it. They don't feel empowered by it. And, one of them is so afraid that she will never have enough money that she's like a squirrel. She works like crazy. She's always working on something. And then she's taking the nut and she's squirreling it away. And she's not enjoying it. And then there's our other daughter who's 23, and she is identical to how I used to be. You know what she does? She does what I do. She shops. And she buys something that she can't afford. In fact, the other time I was talking to her on FaceTime, this was 2 days ago, she's sitting there eating something that looked weird. I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh, it's sea moss. It's like the next it thing. Everybody's eating it in LA, Mom, which means, of course, you have to buy it in some organic blah, 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 blah kind of thing, which means it costs way beyond the budget of a starving artist. And so I know better. I'm like, don't say anything, Mel, because, that's not a good thing to do. But I feel like I don't know how to empower my kids to break out of the cycle with money that I was trapped in. And that is why I am so excited when our next guest today said, Mel, The Mel Robbins podcast? Of course I'll get on a plane and fly to Boston and sit down with you and spend time teaching you, Mel, and you listening the 5 things that you need to know to take control of your financial life. Tiffany Aliche is here. And you might have already met her before because she is an expert and star in the Netflix series Get Smart with Money. Her podcast, Brown Ambition, has won a Webby Award. Her book, Get Good with Money, is a New York Times bestseller. And she has built an 8-figure business, and she runs an 8-figure business, and she has been in the depths of debt. And you know what's interesting is I can almost hear right now all the moms and dads pulling up the share button and sharing this episode to their kids, because you know as soon as we're done editing this is going straight to my kids. And if you're listening to this because your mom or dad or aunt or uncle or brother or sister sent this to you, I want to tell you something. You're going to freaking love Tiffany, and you need to hear it. Tiffany has helped 2 million people just like you save, manage, and pay off hundreds of millions of dollars. And one of the reasons why I like her so much is she's been there. She understands what it's like to be under crushing debt, to be a victim of a scam, to not be able to pay your bills. And she is living proof that you can learn everything you need to learn. You can literally not only climb out of that debt, you can build a mountain of wealth. And she's going to meet you wherever you are. So, are you ready to get good with money? I sure am. Tiffany, welcome to the Mel Robbins podcast.
I'm so excited to be here, Mel. I would love to just jump in and talk about your story with money. And first of all, I want to offer up that your story is very common. That, you are not the exception, but the rule. So many of us, especially when we're younger, struggle with our financial relationship with money.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised by some of the things you went through because I went through them as well.
And when you've helped as many people as you've helped, I would imagine that you hear some of the same things, whether it's fear or shame. What is something that you want someone to know if they're struggling to pay their bills right now, or they are like Chris and I were, their house has liens on it, they're in a mountain of debt, or they think they've done all the right things, but they're still feeling this level of, why can't I get this right? What is your overarching message in terms of what's possible for somebody?
Well, one, I want you to know that it is quite possible. If you can hear the sound of my voice, it means that you are still currently here.
Yes.
And because you're still currently here, then you can turn around whatever situation or circumstance that you're in. I promise you.
Awesome. So no matter how much debt you have.
No matter. I mean, when you said 800,000, I'll say, I see your 800, and I had 300,000.
Well, we're going to get to that. So why don't we get into, I know your background, but why don't you tell everybody how you became the Budgetnista, like your background?
I feel like I was born into the Budgetnista. I'm one of 5 girls, and my parents are both immigrants from Nigeria, and my dad especially was really focused on teaching his girls about money.
Okay.
He was an accountant. He has his bachelor's in economics, his master's in finance, and we had money lessons at home.
Wow.
Yeah, so every Thursday we would have like a family meeting, usually about chores and homework, but also the family's financial state.
Wow.
And honestly, when you're a kid, you think like whatever happens in your home is like, that's what happens everywhere. It wasn't until probably middle school. And I'm like, you don't have money class? Because my dad let us know this is normal. Everyone does this. And I'm like, so you don't do Thursday night money sessions? Got it. Okay. But it was great because, at the time I didn't think it was great, but it really taught us the basics and not to be afraid of money because we talked about it so openly.
Okay.
Like he would leave the light bill on the dining room table, which was central in our house, our dining room. And he would say, if the light bill goes down, we can put money into our traveling fund and we can go to Disney.
You know what? I'm stealing that right now. No, I'm serious because I think as a parent, having an 18-year-old son, like I come downstairs in the morning and if he's the last one up, it's like every light in the house is on and you can say it intellectually.
Yes.
But even just that strategy of leaving the bill out and saying, if you turn off the lights, this is lower and I can use that money to do more things for you.
Yes.
That's a great tip. Thank you to your dad.
Because one of the things that he understood is that kids don't care about your bills. I don't care if your kid is 30 or 3.
True.
They don't care about your bills. What they do care about is what's important to them. And so if you can link your bills to what's important to them, then they will care about that outcome. Match it to what's important And then all of a sudden, even for yourself, like money for money's sake is usually not motivation enough.
Yeah.
You know, matching it to a thing, vacation, less work, more time with family. If you can match it to something that's important, then it's easier to stick to the money goal.
Interesting. So did you like literally graduate from high school and head off into your life and you were already chipping away, saving millions of dollars?
Well, I was financially, quote unquote, perfect until about 25, 26, because I just did what my parents told me to do.
Okay.
That's around that age.
Gotcha.
You know, you start, old people call it smelling yourself. When you're like, I'm grown, I can do what I want. And so I was really good at savings. I went to school for business. And I hated all my internships because I'm fun. And it was like, I'm dying here.
Yes.
And so I decided I wanted to teach because I loved kids. And I thought, I think I want to be a teacher, but I don't want to be broke. How do I reconcile those two things?
Yes.
So I decided, well, if I'm really good with my money, I can take a job that takes less, that pays less.
True.
So I did that. I became a preschool teacher.
I bet you were great at that.
Oh my God, I was the best. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody loved Miss Tiffany. I mean, because I was like 21 and I had a ball.
Okay.
Teaching.
So you are following the advice of your parents. You are working the systems. You are able to do a job that you love.
Yes.
You are checking all the boxes. What happened?
And just saving. 'Cause
Okay.
I lived home for the first year.
Smart.
And my dad showed me how to do my own taxes. So much so that I was so good at like budgeting and managing money that I would show the other teachers.
Yeah.
The maintenance men would come in during nap time. The parents, I started to have like parent university. So the kids would nap, parents would come in, and I would show them, this is how you budget. This is how you save. And that's how the Budgetista was born informally, because I realized I don't just like teaching kids. I like teaching this too.
Right.
You
Okay.
know?
That's super cool.
You know, and then I want to say about 25, that's when I said, I don't actually want your advice anymore because I'm an adult.
You mean your father?
Yes.
Advice. Okay.
Yeah. I'm an adult. I have it. And so it was then that I decided to go back for my master's in education.
Yep.
I thought maybe I'd be a principal. So all of a sudden
Ooh,
I
you'd
went,
be a great principal too.
well, you know, I don't know, because I feel like you put the best people in the classroom, if I'm being honest. And that's when I realized after my master's, $50,000 later, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So I didn't have undergraduate loans. My parents helped, and I lived at home part of the time.
Yep.
So I didn't have student loans.
Okay, so now you're 26. You got $50,000 in student loans.
Yes. And then too, around that time, I said, you know, I had $30,000 saved.
Yep.
Because although I was working and making by then about $50,000 a year as a teacher, I was really good at side hustling. I babysat, I tutored, and so I saved about $30,000. And I
Amazing.
said, I think I want to buy something. I'd bought a condo, which was not necessarily bad,
Right.
except for it was right before the crash, the recession.
So we're talking 2007, 2008.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I
that
bought-
was when this all happened to me too.
So I bought it in 2006, right?
Yep.
So I paid $220 for the condo, and I was like, no problem. I've got a good job. And then I thought, I want to learn how to like be rich. And I had a friend, air quotes, who I thought was rich. Because in your 20s, you think if someone has a nice car,
Yes.
an apartment, they're rich. So
Yes.
I asked him, can you teach me to invest? Not my dad, but you. Can you teach me to invest? He said, sure, you look stupid. I mean, yeah. And so he told me to pull money. For one, he said, do you have credit cards? I said, just this one that my dad told me to pay off every month, which I do. He's like, no, open up a couple more because you can pull money off a credit card. I didn't know. And I was like, sure. So I opened up the cards, and he's like, I pulled off $15,000.
Yeah.
And it should have been such a red flag because I was at the bank. I could literally see the banker's face saying, are you okay? So it kept me there for an hour, like grilling me, and no red flag went off like Tiffany. They were worried because they were like,
Is she getting scammed?
well, obviously, yes, but I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
so because I was like, we have a contract. Signed this contract with him. Of course, he promptly flew the coop. I did not know, yes.
Wait, so this was a guy who basically told you to take out credit cards,
Yes.
get a cash advance
Yes.
on the credit cards.
Give him the money, and he was going to invest it for me.
Oh, man.
But at the time, I was like, but he's rich. He wouldn't steal from me.
That's true.
You know?
like if somebody
That's what I
is
thought.
like doing all the things and going out and they're wearing the fancy
Yes.
clothes, you're like, oh, they know how to make money.
Well, I didn't realize he was a serial scammer. That's why he had the money.
because he then took your 15,000 or 20,000 and then like bought more nice clothes and then went on to the next person. Wow.
So but I didn't know at first because, and even thinking about the terms, it was this $15,000 is going to yield you $2,000 a week for 2 years. I don't even know. I didn't even really ask what it was going to be invested in. I was like, that sounds like a lot of money. I'm in. So because I thought I'm about to be rich, I had these credit cards that still, because I had such great credit.
Yeah.
I had these credit cards that I'd never thought about using credit cards before, but I'm like, since I'm going to be rich, let me start using them. I ran up another $15,000 on the
Oh
credit
my
card.
God. So you've got $30,000 in debt and
Yes.
it's probably at like 18-20%
I can only
interest?
imagine. Yes.
Holy
So
smokes.
now I've got $50,000 in student loan debt, $220,000 a mortgage, $30,000 credit card debt. Literally the year before, debt free. And I was just happy as a clam, because like you're just a little fool, like I'm about to be rich. And then a week or two in, after tricking up all my money on my credit cards, reaching out to him like, when can I expect my first payment? He was the worst kind of thief. I like just a clean thief, just steal my money and go. He instead would be like, you didn't get the deposit? I sent it. Call your bank. So took me through.
So now he's gaslighting you.
I didn't have the word for it then. And I'd be like, bank, did you get the money? And they're like, no. So he did that for a few months. And maybe he was trying to like get away because he then moved. So maybe he was hoping, that I wouldn't call the police until he could move away. Then he just stopped answering. And I remember I was devastated, like, wait, what do I do now? And so I was like, that's all right. Tiffany, you're a really good saver, a really good budgeter. And so you're just going to, babysit, tutor in your job, and you're just going to pay this debt down.
You're going to chip away at it,
Yes.
and you're not going to tell anybody.
Yes. And then the recession hit, and people were losing their jobs. And I said, ooh, not me, because I'm a teacher. And then they called us and said, actually, you too. 3 days before the new school year was set to begin.
Oh, man.
I was like, I don't understand, because teachers don't, you need teachers.
Yeah.
But it was a nonprofit-based school.
Oh.
And so they lost their funding because the corporations that gave us funding, it was the recession for them too.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, but school's supposed to start in 3 days, and then in the summer you don't get paid. So I was waiting on that first check to start this new plan.
Oh my God.
And I remember being like, what do I do now? I owe all this money. I have a mortgage. And so I called my oldest sister, Karen, because she's Mom Junior.
Yep.
I was like, what do I do? And she was like, honestly, Tiffany, what's the worst case scenario? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I lose my condo.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what would happen then? I'm like, I guess I would have to tell Mommy and Daddy and move back home. And she's like, well, why wait? I think you should just do the thing now preemptively, And I was like, so I didn't even tell my parents. I just brought like a lamp home. And then I brought like a blanket and then my mattress. And my dad's like, are you back? I'm like, yeah. But he didn't know why I was back, because he knew it was like a recession, and he didn't know that I lost my job. So he just assumed I was trying to save money.
Right.
But I didn't want him to know all the other shenanigans surrounding.
So did you lose the condo too?
Yes. It was honestly, how some things you're like, it can't get worse. And it was like, hold my beer.
Yes.
Indeed it can. So I ended up losing my condo to foreclosure. I tried to keep up with the mortgage until my retirement account was empty. So now I have no retirement account. I lost my condo. I still owe all this money. And now I'm living back home with 2 Nigerian parents who think like I'm in 12th grade still. Because by then I was like 28, 29. And they were like, well, I hope you know you have a curfew. I'm like, a curfew? They're like, if you're home.
Because I had not spending money.
Yes. I had a sister who was still in high school. They're like, we don't want you coming in and out. Like,
yeah.
her rules are your rules. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And so I stayed there till I was 29. And on my 29th, going on 30th birthday, I remember laying in my middle school bed, because that was the bed available, because the baby sister was in like my cool teen spot in the basement. And she was like, I don't care if you're home. Go live upstairs with Mommy and Daddy.
Yep.
And I remember laying in my middle school bed, tears streaming down the sides of my face. And I thought, I had more money the last time I laid in this bed when I was like 14, because I babysat, I walked dogs. And I was like, I had more money then. I had maybe like $3,000 or $4,000 saved then than I do now at 30. And I was calling myself every loser, like just talking to myself in a way that I would never let anyone talk to me. And I was filled with such shame that it set me into a state of depression. Because I was like, I'm never going to get out of this. Never, ever, ever. So that's why when people come to me, I'm like, I feel it deeply, And so I stayed in that state of depression for a while until my best friend, Linda, who used to call me all the time, was like, you never want to go out. You always sound so sad. What's wrong? And I used to lie to her and just be like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then one day she's like, everything's not fine, Tiffany. Like, what's happening? So I tried to lie to her again, and I just broke down into tears. And I was like, I'm at home. I lost everything. And she was like, that's it? If you knew Linda, you'd be like, because that's Linda. And she was like, so I'm calling you from my mother's couch. She's like, girl, we're all broke. It's the recession. And I started laughing and she started laughing. And it was like the first laugh I had in a long time. But she was like, have you called any of our other friends? Like, literally, Tiffany, we are all broke. Everyone lost their job. Everyone's losing their homes. Like, you're actually not special. I mean, it's sad, but, you know, join the club, basically.
I wish you had been in my circle of friends then, because I needed somebody to tell me that.
Yes.
As, you know, we were about to lose the house. And
it's hard.
Like, really hard, because you think you're the only one.
Yeah.
I mean, the recession isn't your fault.
Yeah.
Losing your job isn't your fault.
Yeah.
The fact that you were targeted by someone who had the intention of scamming you, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
And yet you tend to say to yourself, I did
Yes.
this.
Yes.
So what did you do?
So I realized that, so Linda allowed me to shed some of the shame.
Yes.
And shame shields solutions. It was
Ooh, say that again. I love that.
Shame, I realized, shields solutions. And when I was deep into shame, I couldn't see all the lessons that I did know. Because Tiffany, you've always been a great budgeter. You've always been a great saver. You've always been a little side hustler. Those parts of you are still there. You can't see them because you're so steeped in this shame. And shame honestly loves it when you're by yourself. Shame is like, don't tell anybody. It's just me and you. Like, stay here with me. The only way to banish shame, I realized, was to give voice to it. Was to say, I did a thing. And shame was like, damn, because once she tells someone, then she's going to realize she's not the only one.
Yes.
And then we're not the only ones here, and then I have to leave. And so once I told Linda, and Linda's reaction was like, is that it? Then I told someone else, and they were like, okay. And then I realized, like, oh, I'm really not the only one. And that what I'm going through can actually be helpful to other people, because I'm not coming to them as like Pollyanna perfect.
Right.
Because they're like, me too. So we're just all whispering, me too. Before you know, the whispers are loud and we're all like, me too. Now let's get to work.
Yes.
And so what I did first and foremost is, like I said, I took all my credit cards and put it on a balance transfer card. Thankfully, before the foreclosure and things hit, and my credit score would not allow me to do that.
Okay.
So that was one. Two, I was like, I cannot live here with my parents. I mean, I need like to go. So I then traded my parents' house for my sister's couch, you know, which I know everyone is not able to do.
Right.
You know, but I was fortunate enough to be able to sleep on her couch for a while. And I started to look for side hustles that were aligned with either my degree or what I had already been employed as, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the time when you get let go as a teacher right before the new school year, it's not like a ton of teaching jobs lined up.
Yeah.
Because they have to have a teacher in the classroom already.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, you know, like I'm an engineer and engineering jobs are always open. I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to the classroom. But in the meantime, I'm like, I can tutor, I can babysit. And so I did a lot of that to try to get a little money together. And I did something where I had to give my permission to myself that not everyone's going to be paid, Tiffany, because you don't have it. And so I had to make a list, which I call my money list, of all of my expenses and look at them and say, of this money list, which one are your health and safety bills? Meaning the bills that you have to pay to maintain your health and your safety. And I was like, Verizon, it ain't you, girl. It's not you. But it's like I have asthma. I was like, you're going to need that pump.
Yes, yes.
And things that I must have. And so everyone else, I was scared, but when you have, like, I always tell people, get yourself a Linda. So Linda used to sit next to me on the couch and we would open up mail together. And so sometimes I'd be like, especially if you get like a pink or a red envelope, you know, it's like, so then I wouldn't open it. I would slide it to Linda and she would open it and she would read it out loud. She'd be like, okay, this one says, oh, this one's not so bad. You owe.
I understand there's some interesting research about how simply looking at money can change you.
Yeah. There's sort of interesting evidence that it can do lots of different things. So one thing it seems to do is it makes you a little bit more independent, makes you feel a little bit stronger and reminds you of resources and having more of things. The other thing it can do is, though, it makes you a little bit less helpful towards other people.
How
Makes you
so?
a little bit less generous.
Really?
Makes you a little bit more independent. Yeah. So there's some research where if you show people money or you show them, dollar bills or things like that, and then you have a task where they have to be helpful, they're going to be a little bit less helpful if they've just seen money than if they haven't. And I think that's because one thing you get from money is you can stand alone a little bit more. You don't need other people quite as much. That's at least the theory. And so it makes you more independent and less communal minded, and it might make you a little bit less generous.
Well, Dr. Alter, maybe that's why I'm such a generous person, because I never have cash in my wallet.
There you go.
So
It's all about the credit cards.
So do you have favorite tweaks based on the research that you either recommend or use in your own life that help cue you to be your best or to make behavior change stick?
Yeah, I've talked about the biggest one. 6 years ago, I left New York City with my wife and 2 kids, and we moved to a town where it was natural and beautiful, and we could go less than a mile in any direction, and we would have either a beach or we would have a forest or we'd have something.
Where is this Shangri-La? You still work in New York?
The Shangri-La's in Connecticut, just outside New York. Yeah,
okay.
So it's beautiful, and it means that on any day I can drive for 10 minutes or even walk for 10 minutes and be somewhere that does all of this restoring. So I think being around nature for me is a huge one. Different people have different things that matter to them. That was very important to me. It drew me back to my childhood, because growing up in first South Africa and then Australia, natural environments, and especially the beach in Australia, was a big part of what I was used to. And I missed that.
Yeah.
And so being near a beach, the sand and the water was really important to me. So I think picking the location that does the best for you most of the time is really important, that it's worth sometimes sacrificing other things for. And that's something that I've always followed.
That makes a lot of sense. I remember this was decades ago, but when I had just graduated from law school and I moved to New York City, I basically spent all of my puny income so I could live walking distance to Central Park.
Yes.
And so that I could also get to the West Side Highway, because just being able in the big city to get to some green space was critical. And, you said that thing about it also has this sort of nostalgia thing of being able to be outside. Anything about your inside environment, like the way that you think about your workspace, or you might think about the kitchen or places where people want to be primed or prompted to be their best?
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier, especially if you're in a big city, it's useful to have something natural inside that environment. It can be hopefully a real plant, but if it's not real, a fake plant, anything that gives you the sense of that greenery and that nature, maybe even like a little fountain feature, just a little thing that you plug in that maybe has a light and a little bit of running water. Even the sound of running water reminds you of all these things. And I had the same experience in New York. I was always in Central Park or running on the West Side. And so to the extent that you can bring these features into your home, there's a huge amount of benefit to that. I think for me personally, and this varies, but I think the lack of clutter that you create in a place is really an important source of well-being. So for me, trying my best, and this doesn't always happen, but trying to remove clutter from an environment, especially where I'm trying to think, is really important. I think that's a really good way to think about doing your best work in general, that having blankness in front of you and just moving forward and pouring out your ideas is the best way to go without being infringed upon by other things that are in the environment around you.
Why does lots of stuff around the environment where you're trying to work or focus impact your ability to do your best thinking?
Where every single thing, even if it's in a small way, is distracting. Everything draws you out of the here and now, some things more than others. A smartphone, massively distracting for all sorts of reasons that are obvious. Even other objects, like if you have a memento that's in view, that's really nice. A picture of a loved one, that's really nice. But of course, if you stare at it, it's going to take you out of the here and now. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have photos of loved ones on your desk, but you should at least recognize that if there are 1,000 different nice mementos around you, the clutter of that, while it's lovely and it brings back good memories, that's probably not the time and place to do it. So having clarity in front of you as you work, I think, is a really important driver of good ideas and creativity in general.
I'm sitting here thinking about my workspace at my home, and it is knick-knack-attack, like everywhere, like little stuff that I really love and means a lot to me. And I can tell you, this is probably an indication of just how distracted I am. Because I could look at my computer and I've got like 4 little mason jars with all like the pens in one and Sharpies in another and pencils. And then I got a photo of my mom and my grandmother and then I've got a little compass my parents sent me. And then I've got a mug that Chris gave me. And then I mean, it's like a little zoo of objects.
If it makes you feel great though. So
I don't know that it does.
Okay,
I just feel like, holy cow, even though I'm not staring at all this stuff, you're saying that subconsciously your mind is still pulling it in to some extent.
To some extent. It's processing things around you constantly.
Okay.
And so to the extent there are things around you all the time, you might ignore them consciously.
Right. But
they're always there. The clutter is always there. And on some level, even if it's on a small level, each little thing is pulling you away in some small sense. And that's the opposite of what you need, especially in the world that we live in now where everything is so distracting. We're actually getting 10 minutes of good, hard quality work is vanishingly impossible.
That's it? 10 minutes?
I mean, it's very, very hard for a lot of people to work. If you track them across the day to get 10, 15, 20-minute bursts of good, hard work, it's tough for a lot of us, especially if your phone is nearby, if your computer's dinging you with emails and things like that. It's really hard to do the same task for 20 minutes in a row.
I started with coaching maybe 10 years ago, but I lacked confidence in myself or what I was selling. And so I never made any money coaching. You know, I just kept going to groups and like Brendan and some of those others. And I just kept going, thinking it was going to happen. Well, about the first of the year, I had a really, I was introduced to grief for the first time.
Okay.
And I just said, grief is wonderful about eliminating all the chatter around you. So I just said, okay, I'm stopping everything. So I quit every program I was in. I sat down and I said, okay, what do I like about my life? Well, I have a podcast. I've had it for 8 years. And it's always been about women in transition. And it's called Second Wind with Joyce. So I love doing that. So my natural inclination is to go into speaking because I like being in front of audience, telling the story. But my audience is still about the transformation. But because I have continued to age, so has my group that I want to support. And I see this group of 50s, 60s that go through reevaluating who they are, finding their identity. They've never found their identity because they inherited it. And now they're faced with, what do I do now? I've lost my partner. I've lost, who am I? So.
Is that what happened to you?
No, I divorced when I was 50.
Who did you lose recently?
My ex-husband and my sister.
Okay.
So, anyway,
are you
business?
What did you say, hon?
How do I make a business?
I don't get the sense that you want to be doing this. I get the sense, just hear me out.
Yep.
I get the sense that you feel like you should. And what I want you to really just hang with me for a second.
Yep.
I love personal development. If I didn't have a business around personal development, I would just constantly go to seminars and I'd listen to podcasts and I would consume it because I love it. It makes me feel human. It makes me feel connected to other people. It makes me, in moments, feel in touch with something larger in life. And there's something that is bigger than a podcast or coaching or speaking. And there's more of a, I just get the sense with you that there's more of a calling. And that's why it's not turning into a business. There is a desire to serve. There's a desire to support. There's a desire to connect. And what is coming up for me, maybe it's because my husband is going through this training, but he's going through the training to be a death doula.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's what you would do, but there's something like, to me, you love the podcast the most.
Mm-hmm.
What do you love about it?
Interaction with people, sharing the story. Their stories are all about how life is better after the trauma, because of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like sharing that message. So
I feel, I don't know. What's your reaction to what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with some of it. I agree that I have a bigger purpose. And I've started writing because somebody said to me, well, you're grieving. Why don't you write? And I went, duh. It had to come from outside of me. So I started writing. I'm enjoying that very much. So anyway.
Okay. Do you have to make money? Be honest.
No.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
But let me tell you this. I've always, from childhood, money is a measurement to me.
Of what?
I'm making money.
Of what? What is money a measurement of?
Success.
Bullshit.
Well, for me, it's my belief.
I think you need to change your belief.
Well, maybe.
I'll tell you why. Because you say you value it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet your actions don't tell me that you do. Your actions tell me that you value connection, and you value purpose, and you value making a difference.
Right.
I think somebody else made you feel like it wasn't successful, or what you're doing is not helpful or big enough if there isn't money attached to it.
That's probably true.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not fun to have money, and I'm not saying it's not fun to make money. I love making money. I love building shit. I love all that stuff. But I will never be able to coach you in how to make money if in your heart you actually don't care about it. And I don't think you do. I think that somewhere back in history, you got it in your head that you're only successful if you're making money. And that's horseshit. You're successful if you are happy with who you are, and if you are happy with the life that you're living. That is what success is. If you get to spend your days on a podcast, talking to people, making a difference, you are a very successful person, particularly if you don't have to worry about whether or not it makes money. And so what I want you to do is I want you to go to work on dismantling this notion of what a successful life looks like and what your worth is.
Yep.
You are wildly successful. Tell me why that's true.
Because I make a difference.
Fuck yes. That's right, Joyce. That's right. You focus on that and you show up with that energy on that podcast, and you show up with that energy with the women you're talking to. And trust me, if money's supposed to fall out of the sky, it will land in your lap. There is a reason why you haven't done it. Because deep in your soul, you know that's not what matters. You know what matters is what you're already doing. And I want you to launch yourself into a new chapter where you honor that and where you truly celebrate the fact that every day we have been given the gift of Joyce. Joyce has the ability to wake up every fucking day and make a difference in someone's life. Joyce has the ability to sit with people that are grieving and help them understand that grief is so important, because actually what you're present to is all the love that you feel. And Joyce has the ability to get people to talk about their trauma. And that's helping everybody. That is such a beautiful thing, Joyce. It is a gift that we have all been given, that you can do that.
Thank you.
What are you getting from this?
Oh, about tears. I always have tears. I'm just getting more permission just to sit back and enjoy life.
Yes.
And
Yes.
stay out of my head. Probably.
Yeah. You deserve to enjoy your life. I'm trying to learn that lesson too. And, suffering can become a habit. And it would be really wonderful if you could lead by example and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Beautiful job, Joyce. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So what is the one thing that you've stopped doing that you know you need to start doing?
Taking steps toward learning a little bit more about my goals and finding a mentor.
Okay. And what is the goal that you're working on, or the dream?
Financial freedom.
Okay.
I want to, I'm 50 years old, have, a mortgage, 4 kids to get through college,
Yep.
18 to 23. 10 years from now, I want to be free of that. So I want to make as much as I can in the next 10 years.
Right. A lot of times, particularly around financial goals, we spend all of our energy thinking and working towards making more. And you also have to look at what you got to stop doing. So where are you spending money? Where are you being stupid with money? Where are you, I'm speaking to myself specifically, where are you doing things that are not aligned with that goal? So it's both, what do I need to start and what do I need to stop? So I'd also look at what you need to stop doing. The other piece of this is that one of the coolest things that you can do if you're trying to just create a little bit of momentum is always go back to your morning routine. I cannot tell you how important, how just of a cornerstone foundational habit this is. If you ever feel like you're losing momentum, if you ever feel like you're off track, if you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, go back to your morning routine. I believe that how you start your day dictates how the day goes. And the morning is the only time of the day, the only time that I can guarantee that you can have a little bit of control. I cannot guarantee that people aren't going to call you, or it's not going to break, or there isn't an emergency at work, or someone's not going to get sick. But I can guarantee you, if you set that alarm early enough, and if you wake up when that alarm rings, and if you have a morning routine that works for you, that is where you can find 15 minutes a day, because you can bake it into that schedule, to be able to inch forward every day. And look, You know, the email that you're talking about needing to write. You might write that one morning, but not send it. That's okay. The next morning, in those 15 minutes, you might figure out all the people that you're going to send it to. Fine. The next morning, you're going to hit send and then yourself, you know, like, because you get it. Like, so that is foundationally for me. If I get overwhelmed, if I get out of whack, which I do all the time, I go back to the morning routine, and what I see is that's the piece that dropped out. And, you know, I also cannot emphasize enough how important sleep is. Seriously, you want to make a lot of money? You want to be financially free? You want to be more present? Seriously, look at how much sleep you're getting. The more successful I become, the more boring I am in life. Because I prioritize being rested when I wake up. And I prioritize the morning because my days are so chaotic. And when I lose those foundational things, the wheels come off. What is it about quitting your job that scares you?
I'm an organized, planned person, and I've been in my corporate job for 6 years, love it, but it's not my passion.
Okay.
I've been with the USANA business for 3 years.
Okay.
But finally pursued my long 7-year dream of becoming a personal trainer.
Okay.
So now I'm a trainer, have USANA. I want to do health, fitness, and change lives.
Fantastic. So here's my take on quitting jobs. I want to be clear about the research because I know a lot of you feel a ton of pressure to quit. So the research shows very specifically that people that keep jobs that they hate while they build up a business to a point where it is responsible to step into it fail 33% less of the time than people that just quit because they're sick of it. Because what happens when you quit too soon is you put too much pressure on your dreams and on the new business. And then self-doubt and overwhelm and the realities of what you have to be responsible for kick in. And particularly for those of you with a family, with people that you're taking care of, with obligations, you need to be responsible. Do not use being responsible as a shield for hiding that you're a chicken when you're ready. Because you know when you're ready, and my formula is this. If you generate enough money 2 or 3 months in a row to pay your bills, you've demonstrated that this isn't luck and you're ready to go, as long as it's financially responsible. So that's my opinion. Again, everything that I say is my theory. It doesn't mean it's right. You have to take whatever people are telling you and calibrate it against what's right for you. Because when I walk out of here and Allie walks out of here, she's gonna go live her life and I'm not gonna be there except for on YouTube with her, okay? She's gotta own the decision. So it's clear that you want to do this. The question is this a question of being responsible and doing the math and the calculations, or is this a question of you're just scared to make the change?
I'm definitely scared.
Okay.
Because I want to be responsible. And I've looked at some of my best friends that have quit and pursued their passions, and because they've opened the space of having time, they've tripled their income.
Correct.
And doing what they love.
So can you make enough money to pay your bills? And have you done it consistently for a couple months?
No.
Okay. How much longer is it going to take you?
Well, I've been thinking that I need to give myself a timeline to have a fire under my ass.
So look, she's a very organized person. I am not. A timeline would not work for me. I am more of I need to build up an emergency and then be left with no choice, okay? But if a timeline works for you, you need to create a timeline. So let's pick a date right now that is responsible. I think that if you put your head down and you did this, in the next 3 months, you could create enough income to prove to yourself that you could do this. You're gonna work yourself into the ground, you're gonna be doing the hustle at night and working during the day, and you're gonna be exhausted, and then you're gonna make it happen. But I think for your personality, let's pick a date right now. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. What are you waiting for?
I'm sweating.
Of course you are. So am I.
What's the date today?
I don't know.
17th. August 17th.
How much money do you need to quit? How much money do you need to make in 1 month in order to say, I can do this?
I haven't done that yet, and I feel like I need to do that.
Say it right now. How much money do you need to make in 1 month to say to yourself, I can pay my bills? Pick a number. Don't make it too big. You can kill going to Starbucks for a month. We can ratchet things down for a little bit.
No lash extensions.
No lash extensions. Jeez Louise.
Let's go with...
Hold on. Are your dreams more important than lash extensions?
Yes.
Okay. Don't you have a friend that's training that can do the fills for cheaper or something?
No,
you know?
I'm gonna have to add one to.
Okay. Yes.
Let's go with 25,000.
A month?
Yeah.
Is what you need?
No.
What the hell kind of life do you live?
That's what I want.
No. No, 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 no. How much money do you need to pay your bills? You're not going to replace your corporate income overnight, and you're not going to do it while you are trying to personal train and do Usana. And based on the fact that you can afford lash extensions, and based on that gorgeous ring you're wearing, your lifestyle is more expensive and more important to you than this dream right now. So let's get real. How much money do you actually need to pay your bills? Not for the fancy stuff.
$3,000.
Boom! How fast could you do that? Tomorrow, correct? Yes. So this is actually the fact, like, I love how honest you are, so thank you. I love you, okay?
All my new friends.
Yes. Who can relate to her, by the way? Who can relate to her? You are so right, because you know intellectually that the second that you quit, you open up all this time and all this energy and all this passion, and you're going to triple and 10x and all the things that everybody says, blah, 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 blah. It's going to happen. But first you have to get real with the fact that your dreams are more important than holding on to the luxury of the lifestyle momentarily. Make sense?
Yes.
Got it. Secondly, when you put a number down like $3,000, which isn't a small amount of money, but you can make that happen for sure. Now it becomes obtainable, and you've just given yourself permission and a roadmap to quit. Now let's go back to your original question, which is the date. Oh God, I love you. You're so smart. Okay.
I'm going on my honeymoon in September, so I want to definitely utilize the vacation time.
Yes, of course. That would be stupid not to have it.
It's Thanksgiving, so I'm really thinking December 1st.
I'm really thinking that you're giving notice when you get back from Thanksgiving. Yes. Right? Let's move it up a little and make her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay? So what I want, my request, is that you put something on social media the day after Thanksgiving, announcing that you have started your new personal training business in the next chapter of your life, and I want you to tag me.
Okay.
And we will cheer for you online. Oh, give me a hug. There you go. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.